show mode data, and this is built to trust. We're changing it up a little from the original plan for this episode. Today, we're going deep on management of change, how to run change in controlled environments like airplanes and spacecraft without drowning in bureaucracy and without ever compromising safety. If episode 2 was clarity, episode 3 was cadence, episode 5 was accountability, and episode 6 was leading at different altitudes, this one is about a practical system that lets you change the right things at the right time in the right way. Here's the promise. We're going to keep everything tailorable. We'll treat management of change as a design space, not a religion. The onus and responsibility will always land on the engineering owner, not a committee, not process. A real person who says, I own this change, these are the risks, here's the plan, here's the evidence, and here is how we will know it's safe. I'll give you simple templates you can copy into Monday, language you can use in tough rooms, and a set of tiers so your smallest changes don't pay the same tax as your biggest changes. Why spend a whole episode on this? Because change is where trust is earned or burned. In safety critical work, change is oxygen. You cannot improve without it. It's also how surprises sneak in. Good management of change eliminates surprises while preserving speed. Bad management of change either blocks everything until people work around it in the shadows, or it rubber stamps anything with the right buzzwords. We're going to land in the middle, fast, honest, and safe. Let's start with first principles. Management of change is a social contract around risk. It answers 5 questions every time, no matter how big or small the change. What is changing? Why are we changing it now? What could go wrong? And how would we know early? How will we reduce risk and limit blast radius? Who needs to know? Who decides? And how will we prove it worked? In my world, if an engineering owner can answer those 5 questions in one page, in plain language, they're doing real management of change. The rest is scale, evidence, and traceability. I'll organize the episode in 4 parts. First, a tailorable change note you can use anywhere from a software service on the ground to a flight system interface. Second, change tiers and freeze windows, how to scale the rigor so you don't punish small changes or undercook big ones. Third, the operating cadence, how management of change plugs into your 6-week rhythm, your decision logs, your runbooks, your demos, and your baselines. Fourth, the human side, language, roles, and how to make the engineering owner successful without building a paper factory. Part 1. The one-page change note. This is the smallest useful unit of management of change I know. It's not a template to worship. It's a checklist to think with. You can file it in Git with your code. You can link it in your ticket. You can put it in your drawing revision package. You can paste it into your mission operations runbook. It flexes. Title, short and explicit. Owner, the engineering owner by name. Approver, the person who can say yes or no. What changes? Specific artifact and version. Part number, configuration item, software build. Drawing, checklist, procedure. Why now? Trigger or driver, safety, reliability, performance, compliance, cost, obsolescence, supply. Blast radius, interfaces, dependencies, and systems affected. Hazards, top 3 things that could go wrong with observable triggers. Controls, elimination, substitution, engineered guardrails, administrative steps. Which ones you'll use for each hazard. Verification and validation, the smallest set of checks that prove the change works and did not regress safety or performance. Rollback, the plan to return to a known good if needed, plus who decides and how fast. Freeze windows, where this change may not be introduced. Comms, who needs to know before and after, and what evidence you'll share. Trace, links to the decision log entry, test reports, hazard log, and configuration change. If that feels long, remember, this is 1 page. It is more concise than most status emails, and it saves you from 3 weeks of confusion. A quick example just to show tone and density. Title, replace ingest client with lower level library to remove SDK hang under jitter. Owner, Priya Shah Systems. Approver, Alex Kim, Platform Lead. What changes? Service A, Container V 2.14 to V 2.15. Ingest client library from vendor X to lib Y. Config, flag ingest.mode equals low level. Decision log D L231. Why now? Repeated SDK hang during soak at jitter greater than 200 milliseconds. Watchdog mitigates but is not acceptable for flight data latency target. Blast radius, ingest pipeline, telemetry dashboards, alert thresholds, partner export feed. Hazards, H1 data loss under reconnect, H2 latency spike during GC, H3 misparsed records. Controls, H1 end-to-end checksums plus retry, H2 soak test at worst case profile, H3 golden log comparison before and after, verification and validation, 12-hour soak, 0 critical alerts, 99% success across 10 flights, P99 less than 200 milliseconds, golden log diff shows 0 parse variance, rollback, revert to version 2.14 and SDK client, decision by IC if 2 critical alerts within first hour, rollback time under 10 minutes, freeze windows, no deploys, Thursday after 12 p.m. Pacific time or during flight test windows, comms, pre-deploy note to ops and safety, post-deploy metrics, snapshot, hazards updated in log, runbook 7.3 revised and timestamped, owners notified. The one-page note is the what and why. The engineering owner still needs to do the work, update runbooks, update code or drawings, run tests, prepare the rollback, schedule the change within allowed windows, and present the result. Part 2. Change tiers and freeze windows. This is where most teams either build too much process or none. We'll use 4 tiers. They're tailorable and the thresholds belong to your environment, but the pattern holds. Tier 0. Trivial, zero risk changes. Typos in documentation, non-functional comments, purely cosmetic UI copy, a log line that adds clarity and cannot affect behavior. Rules. Engineer self-approves, commits to main if tests pass and updates trace. No board review. Still visible. Tier 1. Low risk, isolated changes with a working rollback. Internal tool scripts, a test fixture swap with identical interface, a database index addition, a checklist clarification. Rules. 1 approver outside the owner, change note, unit integration checks, rollback path proven. Deploy in normal window. No change board, post-change evidence attached. Tier 2. Medium risk or multi-interface changes. Subsystem update, interface change with stable contracts, procedure change in operations, a new test method, a drawing change on a non-safety critical part. Rules. Owner and approver plus at least 1 consulted stakeholder. Change note. Hazard control mapping, verification plan. Dry run, limited rollout or canary. Rollback. Change recorded in the baseline. Optional quick review with a small board if your domain requires it. Tier 3. Safety critical or mission critical change. Anything with direct safety implications, regulatory impact, airworthiness considerations, or high mission risk. Anything that modifies a safety constraint, a flight control, a hazard control. Anything that changes an operational procedure during a critical phase. Rules. Full review with the right experts. Clear evidence. Broader comms. Dry run if possible. Go, no-go, handoffs and role assignments. Post-change verification. Formal update to hazard log and configuration index. Lessons captured. The magic is not in the number of tiers. The magic is in writing down the thresholds so engineers know exactly which tier applies, and in keeping Tier 0 and Tier 1 frictionless. If you drown small changes in big change process, people stop telling you about changes. They will do it anyway and tell you later. That kills trust. Freeze windows are the second half of scaling. A freeze window is a time or condition when you will not land a change, even if it is brilliant. In flight test, that might be the 2 days before a high-risk envelope expansion. In operations, that might be late Thursday before a customer-visible event. In mission control, that might be the final hours before a maneuver. Freeze windows, protect your last mile, write them down, enforce them without drama. If you must break a freeze, you do it with an on-purpose go-around plan. You shift the landing to a safe time with eyes open, and you communicate the trait. Part 3. The cadence. Management of change cannot live as a separate bureaucracy. It must plug into the rhythm you already run. Kickoff. In your clear one-pager, add change intent. If you already know a key change is coming this cycle, write it down. What, why now, and the primary hazard. Commit to the tier you expect and the freeze window you will respect. If a change emerges mid-cycle, write a change note the day you decide to consider it. Do not wait until it is ready to ship. Weekly truth. In the Friday roll-up required 2 truths and 1 risk for active changes. Truth could be dry run passed with checksums intact, or golden log comparison shows 0 diff across 5 runs. Risk could be GC spike observed under back-to-back file ingress. Mitigation is parameter X. Retest Monday. Honest, short, falsifiable. Decision log. Every tier 2 or tier 3 change gets an entry in the decision log. 5 lines. What we chose, when, who decided, options we considered, and why we chose this one. Link to the change note and the evidence. If a change crosses safety boundaries, tag the hazard ID and the control you modified. If you must revisit the decision after flight data or field evidence, add a review date. Run books. Treat procedures as code. When a change modifies how humans act in the loop, you must update the run book, name the owner, timestamp the change, dry run the procedure with a fresh pair of eyes, and add or update the escalation ladder. If a change touches operations at 3 a.m., rehearse it at 3 p.m. with a person who didn't write the steps. Demo and retro. In week 6, demonstrate the result of key changes per acceptance criteria, not slides, evidence. If a change did not deliver what it promised, say so, name why, and decide whether to roll back or to harden. In the retro, start by reading last retro's change actions and marking them done or not. If change actions don't close, you have theater. Baseline. Update the baseline at the end of the cycle. The baseline is scope, schedule, spec, and spend, as well as known risks and reserves for the next 6 weeks. It should reflect the changes you landed, the ones you deferred, and the ones you discovered and will carry forward. Your configuration index should point to the artifacts that define the system now. If certification or airworthiness requires it, attach the right signatures at the right level with the right evidence. Keep the list short and honest. Part 4. People and roles. You do not need a room full of people to run management of change. You need 3 hats, and sometimes one human wears 2 of them. The engineering owner, the approver, and a safety reviewer for Tier 3. The engineering owner is the driver. They write the change note, run the tests, update the runbooks, coordinate freeze windows, and publish the evidence. They escalate early with choices if they find a surprise. They own rollback if needed. When we say the onus and responsibility land with the engineering owner, this is what we mean. They are the single throat to hug. The approver is the decider. They review the change note, ask for clarity, and either accept the plan or send it back with specific changes. Their job is to ensure the plan is fit for risk and the evidence is real. They respect the freeze window and protect the last mile if needed. They also enforce the tier boundaries. A good approver never confuses "I would have done it differently" with "this is unsafe" or "not good enough." The safety reviewer is the adult in the room for Tier 3. Sometimes that is a chief engineer. Sometimes that is a flight test lead. Sometimes that is the mission ops lead. They look for interactions with known hazards. They ensure viable means safe and reliable. and they confirm that the change does not erode a safety constraint. They have stop-the-line authority. You might also name a configuration lead if your environment is complex. Their job is not to gate change. Their job is to make traceability easy and honest. They maintain the list of controlled items and their current versions. They help engineers file clean packages. They keep the configuration index tight and readable. Now, the human language. Language is where you either make management of change feel like craft or like court. Say, we are proposing this change now because of this evidence and this driver, not we always planned to. Say, here are 3 ways this could go wrong and the controls we chose, not we don't think it will. Say, we will land thin now and add the rest next cycle, when risk and schedule collide, not we will push and hope. Say, if we see this trigger twice, we will roll back, and then actually roll back. Choiceful escalation matters. When the owner hits a snag, they do not write, we're in trouble. They write, we can either keep scope and slip 5 days, or reduce scope by 1 feature and hold the date, or add 2 people and carry night ops for 3 days. Here is the impact on safety margin. I recommend option B, decision by Wednesday, that preserves agency and allows a real trade. It also teaches your team how to think about change. Let me make this painfully practical with 6 copy-paste tools. Tool 1, a 4-box change note for fast work. Box 1, what and why now? Box 2, hazards and controls. Box 3, verification and rollback. Box 4, comms, freeze windows, and approver. Fit it on a single screen. If you need more, link to the artifact. Tool 2, a simple tier gate. If a change can be rolled back in under 10 minutes and affects no external interfaces and has been dry run with evidence, it is tier 1. If a change modifies an interface, touches a safety control, alters a checklist used during a critical phase, or cannot be rolled back quickly, it is at least tier 2. If a change modifies a safety constraint, touches flight or mission critical behavior, or has airworthiness or regulatory effect, it is tier 3. Tool 3, a freeze window card. Green window, Monday to Wednesday all day, Thursday morning, Friday morning. Yellow window, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, requires approvers explicit OK and rollback plan ready. Red window, during test days, maneuvers, public demos, mission phases named in ops plan. No changes unless tier 3, hot fix for safety with incident commander and safety present. Post the card where everyone can see it. No debates at 2 a.m. Tool 4, a go/no-go paragraph. We go if soak runs 12 hours with 0 critical alerts and no parse variance compared to golden logs. We no-go if we see 2 watchdog events or P99 exceeds 250 milliseconds for more than 10 minutes. Decider is the approver. If no-go, roll back to version 2.14, log incident, reschedule change to Tuesday window. Tool 5, a small decision log, decision, replace SDK client with low-level library. Date and decider, September 14th, Alex Kim. Options, a watchdog only. B, low-level library. C, defer and reduce scope. Why? Stabilizes but leaves hanging risk. B, removes class of failure and meets latency. C, hurts user value. Review 2 weeks after 10 flights. Tool 6, a runbook header. Runbook 7.3, telemetry ingest deploy. Owner Priya Shah. Last updated September 10th. Last dry run September 11th. Escalation ladder. IC on call. Safety officer, comms lead, contacts here. Rollback V2.14. C steps 14 to 19. One page keeps humans calm when things wobble. Let me tie this to configuration and traceability, because in aerospace and space you cannot pretend configuration does not matter. A change is not real until the configuration index says so. Use unique identifiers for controlled items. Use version control for software and documents. Attach evidence to the change record. Do not put evidence in email where it dies. Link the hazard you changed. Link the tests you ran. Link the sign-off you got if your domain requires one. Make it fast and honest. Engineers hate scavenger hunts. So do I. You might be thinking, Shomo, this sounds like a lot of writing. It is less writing than refighting an incident. It is less writing than 3 meetings where no one can find the decision. It is less writing than an audit after the fact. And if you use the same shapes every time, the 1-page note, the 5-line decision, the runbook header, you will write faster and your team will read faster. Let's do some reality checks with stories. On one program, we had a test harness that lied a little. Under certain timing, it would skip a step. It was documented, people knew. It was fine. A tier 1 change to fix the timing turned into a quiet tier 2 because the harness sat at an interface used by 3 other teams. A 1-page change note flushed out the blast radius. We added checksums so we could detect misorders, and we scheduled the change outside a freeze window. The deploy was boring. It saved an ugly week 2 months later. Boring is a compliment. On another program, a vendor library behaved beautifully in the lab and badly in the field. We kept carving exceptions around it. It became a safety hazard. The owner wrote a Tier 3 change note. What? Why now? Blast radius? Hazards and controls. Verification, rollback, freeze windows. We ran a dry run, we planned a canary, we trained the on-call, and we landed the change. Evidence first. No slides. 2 weeks later, we removed the guardrail we had only added to make the old behavior survivable. The team slept better. So did I. And yes, we have declared go-arounds. Sometimes you commit to an approach and the air shifts. If your change note includes a go/no-go paragraph and a rollback plan, a go-around is not shame. It's leadership. You climb, reset, and land later with dignity. People remember that more than they remember how clever the code was. Let's talk about the tension between certification, airworthiness, and speed. You will have to produce evidence. You will have to show that your changes were controlled, that hazards were known, that controls were in place, and that verification and validation were real. You can do that without building a museum. Reuse the artifacts you already create week by week. Your change note is your summary. Your decision log is your why. Your runbook header and dry run record are your how humans act. Your test report is your evidence. Your baseline and configuration index are your snapshot in time. If you keep these small and disciplined, audits are not a panic, they are a printout. What about culture? In high-stakes work, people fear process because they fear being blamed. The cure is a just culture. We separate blame from accountability. We reward early escalation. We fix systems before we fix people. We still hold a high bar. We still part ways if someone is reckless. But most misses are not malice. They are signals you designed a system that made it easy to do the wrong thing. Management of change is how you redesign the system on purpose. 2 small habits help a lot. First, start your change reviews with appreciations. Thank the owner for writing down reality. Thank the person who found an ugly edge. It changes the energy in the room. Second, end with a Monday action. If the change is approved, say exactly what will happen next and when. If not, say what must change in the plan and by when. Adults like closure. Before we land, I want to connect management of change to the other episodes so you can see the operating system as one thing. Clarity beats intensity. Your change note is clarity. It defines reality, names ownership, picks a finish line, and shows the path. Cadence sustains clarity. Your change work flows through your 6-week rhythm. Build, harden, reflect. Accountability equals kept promises. A change is a promise. The owner keeps it or renegotiates it early with choices. The hang glider perspective is altitude switching. You will write intent at 30,000 feet and you will click through runbooks at 300 feet. It all hangs together. I'll close with a short checklist you can implement in 2 weeks. Week 1. Publish the tier thresholds and freeze windows. Share the one-page change note template. Make a change note required for Tier 1 and up. Add a runbook header to one critical procedure. Create the decision log if you don't have one. Week 2. Require 2 truths and 1 risk for active changes in the weekly rollup. Dry run one procedure that a change touched with someone who did not write it. Approve one change with an explicit go-no-go paragraph. Practice a rollback in a sandbox. Celebrate the first boring change that landed without drama. Week 3 and on. Measure 2 things. Time from change note created to decision and time from change approved to evidence posted. If those numbers shrink while incidents stay flat or go down, you are winning. If those numbers grow, look for friction in tiers or freeze windows and remove it. Once a month, run a 20-minute altitude review as a one-to-one with a manager. What they did at 30,000 feet, what they did at 300 feet, how one change went, and what they'll adjust next week. If this episode was useful, follow Built to Trust wherever you listen, hit subscribe, and share it with a teammate who lives close to change, flight test, mission control, or the safety desk. Your ratings and reviews help more builders find the show and help more teams make change that is fast, honest, and safe. Next week is episode 8, Test Like You Mean It. We'll talk about designing experiments that answer decisions, soak tests that expose lies, fault injection you can actually run, golden logs that keep you honest, and demo hygiene so PowerPoint never passes again. I'm Shomo Data. Thanks for listening.